Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Sacred Soul Shift series. I'm your host, Vanessa, your trusted soul navigator and energy alchemist. In this series, we'll embark on soul-stirring adventures through the realms of intuition and self-healing with women across all modalities, where ancient wisdom and modern insights intertwine. So if you're tired of the scripted routine and ready for healing and growth, my kindred spirit, this series is crafted just for you. It's time for your Sacred Soul Shift. Happy to be here with you guys tonight, guys. Bringing you another exciting special guest here tonight. I have Melissa Amos. She is a spiritual coach. She helps people unlock their spiritual superpowers. I love that. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And she also dives into the Akashic Records. As you know, that's something that I love to talk about, but I don't teach. So I love bringing in guests that kind of touch on, industry little mystical wonders that I don't go into all the time. I love bringing that into my space and sharing it with you guys. Welcome. We're a few minutes late tonight, guys, but we're here and we're chill. And we're happy to be chatting tonight together, you guys. Let's get into it. Melissa, I love learning about, it's just so exciting for me listening to people's stories because I've obviously been on the journey, but spiritual teachers and people with spiritual gifts have really unique and intriguing life stories. And, the way that people kind of fall into their life path when they become spiritual teachers and things kind of just pop up and out of the blue, and you get forced with challenges and all these sorts of things into the path that you may not have thought that you were going to go on as a child or a young adult. So if you're ready, I would love for you just to go back and just give us kind of a background of what got you to the spiritual coach and this amazing woman that you are today. I love hearing about people's histories and the exciting things that happen in their life journey.
Wow, where do I begin? I was really lucky growing up because my grandma was a hypnotherapist and a thought field therapist. So she did tapping, and back then people didn't really do hypnotherapy and this weird tapping thing. And she was an NLP master practitioner, and so from a young age, from I'm going to say around 8 or 9, I was hypnotized and I was given these practices when I'm just feeling, a bit down at school, or if I wasn't confident in my exams, or when I started to develop a little fear of flying and I love to travel. My grandma just used to put me in her magic chair and just start talking to me, and I'd just sort of drift off and I'd come around the other side feeling very different. So for me, growing up 8, 9, 10, that was all quite, I knew it was special, but it was all quite normal. And I knew that if there was something that I had going on, that my grandma could help me with it. And, she used to put me on her little chair and she'd say, "Come on, Melissa, let's go and have a journey over the Rainbow Bridge." And I'd be like, "Okay." And I'd go and sit there and I'd just think that I'm listening to her talking. And then she'd say, "I've got a balloon attached to my hand," and my hand would start going up. And she'd wake me up and go, "Melissa, have a look at your hand." And I'd be like, "Wow, my hand's just drifting up. And what's going on?" So I really understood at that young age the power of the mind and the power of how we are, how we're influenced and how we actually have more influence on us than we think we do. Yeah, than we're led to believe. And a real pivotal moment for me was I was obviously interested in the hypnotherapy, and I one day wanted to go and see Paul McKenna, at the time he was a stage hypnotist. And she was worried that I'd end up going on stage and clucking like a chicken, because she's always explained to me that it's a therapy and it shouldn't be this kind of thing. So she hypnotized me so that I wouldn't be hypnotized by anyone. Actually, what she installed in me was I would only be able to be hypnotized if it is for my highest good and for my higher self. And something happened in that moment where I feel like I kind of broke free of something, because we're always in trance, right? We're always having these programs and we're always having these suggestions coming to us, and something kind of broke, which I didn't realize until later on in my life how much that influenced me. So, I went on and I left school and I went to uni and I just started that normal life that everyone leads. I got the job and got the boyfriend who I'm now married to, and got the house, and I did all the normal stuff. And at around in my mid-20s, I was really stressed, and I had like my back was always like this, and I was just kind of running on empty really. And I used to get these massages, and this girl came one day, she gave me a massage and she put her hands over my head like this, and I felt something like I hadn't felt forever. And I went, what was that? She goes, oh, it's Reiki. I was like, what? It's like, huh? So I booked him for a Reiki treatment, thinking like, what is this magic that she's doing for me? And I started to have these experiences. I could feel in my body, I was getting the heat, I was feeling really relaxed. And I was like, oh, there's something going on here. But I gave her my power. It was all about, she would come to me and she would give me Reiki, and she'd be the one that made me feel better. Until one day she decided she was going to go and live in Australia. So she's over where you are. And I was like, you can't leave me. What? Don't leave. And she said, well, you can learn Reiki yourself. And I was like, can I? And then this weird string of synchronicities happened, which led me within like a couple of weeks to a Reiki teacher that lived down the road, that happened to be running a Reiki course on the one weekend that I used to get off every 6 weeks. I used to have a weekend off. I was running it that week, and I was like, meant to be. So I took my course. I felt this energy coursing through my hands, and I thought, I am missing something that I've never been aware of before. If I can feel energy tangibly in my hand, what else am I shutting myself down to? And that led me to so I was like mid-20s then. It led me to a lifetime of exploration on anything I get my hands on, how energy works, the law of attraction, channelings, and then eventually like intuitive work, psychic work, and then eventually into the Akashic Records. And now I'm a qualified hypnotherapist myself, which I did in my grandma's honour. An EFT practitioner and a spiritual counsellor, and I read the records and I help people find their own power, because I know the difference it made to me.
That's amazing. What a beautiful connection that you have with your grandma now. That's where it all started, and that's where you came back to. That's really special. I love that. And yes, being back in the day, it wasn't so broadly known about as it is now. And it was particularly in some areas shunned still back then, even though it wasn't that long ago. That's really beautiful.
I think about it sometimes, what a pioneer she was, because this was, some years ago. This was 30 years ago, maybe longer. And you think about even 100 years ago, what was happening to people who were exploring these gifts, and it is a gift. And she did it, and she was like, in the yellow pages, and she was out there and putting herself out there, and had a really nice busy practice. So kudos to her for taking that step and doing it.
Being the empowered woman she was, she's obviously helped guide your path as well, which is amazing, because you're now helping so many women yourself. That's beautiful. And I love, there's always a moment in these stories where the synchronicities line up, and that weekend with your Reiki teacher, it always happens, right? You make that shift onto your spiritual path, and for your highest good, and things just line up, and it's amazing how that then affects the whole rest of your life.
And it did, like literally within weeks. Well, I did my Reiki training, and you open up and you become more sensitive. And I remember walking into the building, and it was like my whole body stood on end, and I was like, I've got to go, I have to leave. And it was a good job, and they were good people, and it was all good, but I just knew it wasn't mine. I left my job and took a job that was for half the money but also half the hours, And it gave me an opportunity to train in coaching and NLP, like on the side. And that literally, it was like my life trajectory just changed from that moment.
Amazing. I love it. Love hearing these stories. And I always try and like instill in people, like, it's not a huge long journey. Like, as soon as you make the change, stuff happens, and it's very quick. And you got to be ready, and you got to be open to anything just kind of falling in your lap and just going with it. I love that.
And then you've got to take the steps, because we often get these hits. It's like, I could have walked into that showroom and just gone, oh, I need to leave, because you know what? I've said that to myself 100 times before and never had. And I could have gone, oh, well, no, it's not the logical decision to go and take a job, which is essentially a step down. But I knew, it was like I knew. I was feeling that uncomfortable, that I was like, I know I need to do this. And it went against all logic.
And it's pushing through the fear, isn't it? And following that inner guidance, even though you know it's scary, but you know something good is on the other side. Love it. So let's shift into the Akashic, because I love talking about the Akashic Records. I went into it a little bit myself, but it's not something that I work with. I don't do Akashic Records stuff. So let's chat. How do you use the Akashic Records? What are the Akashic to you, and kind of how do you work with them to help other people and help guide them in their own life journeys?
Okay. So the Akashic Records, for those that haven't ever explored them or heard about them, and they sound all mystical and magical, don't they? And they're this library of information, if you like, or I see them more of a super highway of information that contains everything that you as a soul has ever thought, said, done, been, desired, experienced, everything. So every single little fire off that comes from your brain comes from your body is filed, if you like, in this system. And what is so magical about them is that it's like they're this realm, and they're open for exploration. And they're not, a lot of people say that they're a library, which I understand the term, because they are literally an index of everything that you've done, but they're not so static as a library. You know how when you open a book and you read it, it comes alive? It's the same. So there are these little balls of energy. I was explaining it to somebody the other day, and they said, oh, I can remember, it reminds me of that film Inside Out, you know, that Disney film, and they've got all the balls. Have you seen that? They've got all these like memory balls that are filed up in these cabinets in different sections. And I think that's a really good analogy of what they are, because what I've discovered is that all of these things that have happened to us, all of these experiences that we've had, all of the talents that we have grown over lifetimes, and all of the fears and the high energy experiences, if you like, create or take up more space in our records than just that passing thought that we have. But even that passing thought that we have is in there. Yeah. What is so wonderful is that we can go in and explore them and understand, well, maybe this is why I feel this certain way about something. Or maybe this is why I find myself showing up in this way every time. Or maybe this is why every time I get an opportunity to go and public speak, why my throat clams up and my nose starts streaming, or I get the big spot, or whatever it is, right, that's going to make you want to hide away. And it can also help you understand, you know, why your relationships are like they are, or why you're drawn to different relationships, or why you and a certain person really connect so well or don't. It's like all of the answers to your life's questions somewhere found in there.
Amazing. And I love the way you describe it too, because, you know, I've spoken to like a few different people about the Akashic and how they view it and how they enter the Akashic Records, and it's always different. Yeah. But in a way, it's all the same. Like, I love hearing about the way you describe it as the little balls, and it is often described as a library, but everyone sees it and experiences it different. So thank you for sharing that little insight into how you experience and how you kind of work with them. When you're with the client, kind of how do you use them? Would you typically use them for overcoming fears or helping people see their potential or what's coming up for them, or helping shed light on, past trauma, or what's the best way and the most helpful way that you use the Akashic?
The sessions are very broad, and it really depends on the person that sits there of what they need. But I'm clear when I'm working with somebody that it's important to have an intention, because this realm is so broad that if you're just like, I'm just going to go in, I just want to see what's going on, then you will get information, but it may not feel relevant. You may not understand. And so it's always best if we have an intention, which could be, and it often is, something like, I'm finding myself stuck in this situation, or I've worked with a lot of people who are wanting to bring their businesses to the forefront, or, they have something with visibility or showing up. That comes up quite a lot for me, possibly because it's something that I resolved in myself. And, that's how the world works, isn't it? And yeah, I have people who are looking to overcome many different fears. And also, when you just kind of, you start on this momentum of something and then you just come to this block and you're like, I can't understand why this is and what's going on. And often we'll go in there and discover that. So for a long time, I've been doing just one-to-one sessions. It's like, come in, we're going to have an explore, we're going to do 90 minutes, and you'll, maybe 2 sessions, but generally just one, and we'll just really get to that core of what it is, and then we can go off. And actually, quite recently, I was doing some work on myself, and this I don't even know what to call it. It's not even a framework. Something just downloaded in. I saw this kind of funnel, and it came to me as Akashic alchemy, and I was like, "What is that?" And I got given some guidance while I'm in the records and doing my own work in there, and it was quite vague, as it often is these things. But it's 4 sessions where we're delving in and we start releasing karma and neutralizing some of the ends that we have picked up. And they're very different to the other sessions. They're like 2 hours, and we are meditating for like an hour at a time and going super deep. So as with all of these things, like you said, you've spoken to many different people, and there's many different ways. Even as I come in and explore more, things start to grow and change. Now, my journey within the records, I didn't have any formal teaching. I met a lady, another synchronistic series of events where I won a reading, and I won't go into all of it, but eventually we reconnected, and she said, I'd love to read your Akashic Records. And I was like, I don't even know what that is, but yeah, okay, let's do it. And she opened my records, and I was having these experiences, full visceral body experiences, and she was just kind of going, what do you see? And I was like, oh, this is happening, that is happening. My body was shaking. It was like really intense. And then while I was in there, she said to me, I want you to explore a life when you were a teacher. And I was thinking, why would I do that? Like, that was never something that I thought of myself. I think of a teacher as a school teacher or a tutor or something. And then this life came in, and I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. And then I was told when in that session that I'm meant to be working in the records. And I was like, well, that's a bit big for this. Like, I've only heard of it today. And I kind of dismissed it. But then I wasn't allowed to dismiss it because it just kept on coming. And I give so much credit to the lady, Tammy, that took me through it, because then she said, right, I want you to read my records. And I was like, what? At the time I was reading tarot, and I was going to give her like a card reading in exchange. And she said, no, I want you to read my records. And I went in, she gave me a pathway prayer, which is by a lady called Linda Howe, which if you're ever looking to explore, it's a really nice start into that. And that opened it up, and the information that came through was just wild. And I thought, whoa. And then somebody like literally approached me 2 weeks later and said, oh, I heard that you've done some Akashic stuff. Can you tell me more? And I was like, well, I'm just going to tell you what I know. Read one book, and then she's like, right, wouldn't you come and run a course with me? And I was like, well, that's a bit much. And it was like I was not forced, but I was thrown into this, and the fears came up, and the what, who, me, imposter syndrome, la, la, la. But whenever I dropped in the records, it was like, it's okay. You go and do it, and we'll give you the information. And I was like, okay, okay,
Wow.
that's what we'll do. And so I'm fortunate that I can grow with that, and that I trust fully my guidance team to deliver to me what is needed at the time, rather than following a do this, 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 and this. And sometimes the healings that come through just blow me away. The imagery that I get, just like, I never would have thought of that in a million years. You know, it's just things come in. So it's a beautiful journey.
Amazing. And I'm happy you just said that at the end, because I was just about to say that it's a huge, like, just shifting into a huge amount of trust with, you know, your spiritual experience, and just dropping yourself away and just surrendering to the flow, and just being okay with whatever comes or does not come next. And, you know, that's really hard to do, especially when you're new into something, into the spiritual world. There's a lot of doubts that come up, even though you are kind of, what most spiritual people are, you know, less fearful and less doubtful and open to more things, but there's still always some little inkling of what if this doesn't work, or what if this is all just, you know, made up in my mind, or it's not going to work at the right time, or I don't have the information to share. So that's really crazy that you were dropped in and, you know, expected to teach something you'd only just learned yourself, and just being okay with, you know, the guidance will come and I'm going to be open to it. That's amazing.
Yeah, you say I was okay. I was actually like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I remember the first day. Now, what I missed out in that story is when the girl approached me, I was 8.5 months pregnant with my third child. And she's like, we need to start on, she was a numerologist, and she's like, we need to start on this date. And I was like, my baby will literally be 8 weeks old. She's like, that's fine. And the first week, I turned up with him strapped in because I was feeding him, so I couldn't leave him for like 3 hours. So the first week, he's strapped in a hammock on my body, and to be honest, it was like he was my safety blanket. I was like, well, if it all goes wrong, I can just go, sorry, baby, I've got to go off. But
baby.
Yeah, it took a lot of courage, and it took a lot of trust. And I was, you know, in my corporate career, my boss always used to say to me, fail to prepare and prepare to fail. And I'd hear that. And I think, well, you can prepare, but you can't really prepare. There's only so much you can prepare for. Yeah. And it was a big lesson for me. And I'm so glad that I took it and ran with it. And because there was other people involved, I think, it helped me verify that what I was getting was true, because I was seeing people get big shifts, and I was seeing people really kind of have these huge releases, or, you know, these empowering situations where I was like, okay, well, this stuff's obviously working. And if I ever tried to step back, I would be gently guided forward again.
I love that. And I love that you were, you know, validated so quickly. That's cool. It's really cool when you start something new that, you know, you see those shifts happening so quickly, and you know you're onto something, and you know you can continue on with it. Yeah. Let's talk now about what you talk in your bio about helping people find their unique spiritual superpowers. Because I know a lot about intuition and how people have all different spiritual gifts, but I want to hear your take on it, and you know how you help people and guide people into, you know, unlocking their spiritual gifts and using them to help guide their life.
Love it. For me, I think everybody does have an element of intuition. We all have it, and we're all naturally born with it, and you can see that with children. I remember when my kids were really little, I'd be thinking of something in the car, like I'd literally be having a conversation in my head, and they'd answer me, and I'd be like, "What? Did I just say that out loud? Am I going mad?" So I think we all have this natural ability, and you hear it even in the most kind of muggle of people, that they say, "Oh, I got a feeling," or "My gut told me," or people go into a room and they say, "Oh, the vibe's good in here," or "You can cut the atmosphere with a knife." And we have this sense which many of us don't really appreciate or tap into, because we've been taught through our lives that, head first, head over heart, and don't make a decision, write a list and weigh up the pros and cons, and there's prepare to fail and fail to prepare, whatever it is. And so this natural intuition that we have, it kind of gets programmed out of us as the days and weeks and months go on. And I think that when you start to talk about intuition, or at least how the media and how it's portrayed, it can feel a bit wishy-washy and woo-woo and a bit crazy. And you think about what we've been given, the images that were given of the lady with the crystal ball and the cackly face, and what the portrayals of a witch, that you can understand why people are like, "Oh, that's not for me. That's all a little bit," yeah. And so we deny it, and it kind of becomes a shadow aspect of us. But then what we find is we start to become more and more uncomfortable as we awaken more, as our consciousness starts to grow, or we start to get into that phase of our life where we're like, okay, what else? And for me, it's helping people understand that spirituality or intuitive abilities aren't wishy-washy, they aren't woo-woo, they're just a higher aspect of you that takes into account more than just what your logical mind is telling you. It does take into account what your logical mind tells you. I don't think your intuition will get you doing something completely off key from who you are. Maybe eventually it might move that compass point 1 degree, and then you'll find yourself going, how did that happen? But it also tracks what's going on in the atmosphere. It also tracks what's happening. We spoke about past life and the Akashic Records, of what you've discovered over lifetimes previous, and it brings that all in a package that comes often quite, it's not very directive. I find my intuition, I don't know about you, but it's often just like, "Oh, why don't you try this?" Well, yeah, you could do that. "Oh, wouldn't this be nice?" And you think, okay. And for me, it's about helping people to just tune into that and go, okay, yes, I've got my logical mind, and yes, I've also got my, my sensory and my physical, my gut feeling. But what's the extra thing? What else can I bring into this? What's that higher perspective that maybe I can't see with my mind, that if I just trusted a little bit more, maybe it could take me to somewhere a little better, a little happier, a little more in flow, a little more in balance, a little more me than just where my brain might take me.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you touched on that, like, everyone has intuitive gifts, even though they don't see it that way sometimes. Like, even I find it funny here in Australia with we have big burly men that drink a lot of beer and do not much of anything, watch the football, whatever. And that's someone that would describe me as a bit weird, a bit woo-woo, whatever. But they're the first person to walk up to someone and be like, oh, he's a bit odd, or I don't like the sense that, the vibe that person's giving me. And that is using your intuition, and it's tapping into that field of energy, right? That's apart from, as you said, the logical mind, and we all have it, and it's just how we experience it. And I love how you talk about tapping into, that higher, little bit of higher power, and that inner voice that, we suppress really in life, and we tend to ignore, but it's always there and it's always available to us. So I love how you're helping women tune into it. And
for me, that's why it's a superpower, because it gives you that extra edge. It's not just what does my brain see. It's not just, I look at the gut, which is kind of tracking the fear and tracking the danger. That's kind of our animal instinct. And they're good to have those working together. But then the intuition will take you just that one step further to what? To you being more aligned with your truth, to you being less aligned with what everybody else thinks you should be doing with your life. And that might be the parents, that might be society, that might be your community, that might be your religious background, like whatever it is that we are really tapped into, from school. And it's like, well, you do this and then you pass your exams and you get a job and you do buy a house and you have your kids and there's this thing. But this intuitive power, it's only going to lead you to your truth and who you are. And if you now start to bring the Akashic Records into this, with what did I say? Everything that you've ever had, your thoughts, your experiences, but your talents and all of the things that you have spent lifetimes building upon. It's like I might have spent 70 years crafting a talent, and then I die and come back, and then what happens to it? Your intuition will start to bring you back into that authentic part of you that now is able to tap into something that suddenly you're like, oh, maybe I should pick up a guitar when I'm 30. And I don't know why I want to pick up a guitar, but I never had that opportunity. And you find that you're able to play it, or it brings so much joy, or, it's the thing that relaxes your kid, or like, something will come of that. And then you find yourself becoming more you. And when you're more you, you release all of that kind of heavy energy, this mask that you have to wear. Many of us don't even know we're wearing it. That we've got to carry around and go like, this is exhausting. When we're there in our truth of who we are and what our soul is guiding us towards and what our potential is, life becomes, I'm not sure easier is the right word, because it's still the challenges, but it becomes more magical. The synchronicities start to line up. And I don't believe in coincidences, but, these serendipitous moments where you just think, oh, and it's that, do I leap? And you've always got a choice. You're never going to be, rarely going to be pushed. You've always got a choice, but it's like, am I going to take that? I wonder where this is going to lead me. I wonder where, just opening up to that huge potential possibility that we can't see when we're stuck typing and doing stuff for other people.
And yes, to everything you just said, it just touches on everything I teach as well. I'm all about empowering women to shift into their life path and find their purpose. And really, I talk about alignment all the time. I just don't think people understand when I say alignment, but everything you just said, right? And when you start shifting, things do become easier. Life becomes easier. It's not such a struggle every time you want to do something, because life is calling you, and you just kind of step in, surrender to that flow. And yes, there's always obstacles, but I think it does become easier to push past them because you're guided on that path, that's for your higher purpose, and things challenge you for a reason more so than a struggle. Like, you're taught lessons and you're taught to learn things that help you progress further on that path. I love that. I always love listening to people and how we all are spiritual teachers and we all kind of teach the same thing but differently. I love that, and I love bringing them into my space. So thank you.
Right. I love that you do that, and this is one of the big differences between the spiritual community to some of the other, coaching or these others. It's like really this collaboration thing, because your intuition is unique to you, and your authenticity is unique to you, and your vibration is unique to you. And there's 8 billion people in the world, and I and you couldn't possibly serve even, a significant fraction of that. And
it's a different way you talk about it too. Like, even though I know we're talking about the same thing, but listening to you talk about it, it's completely something different. And the way you use spirituality is different to the way I use it as well, which is wonderful, and it's unique. And I love that.
I love that. It's all about the collaboration and bring that together, because then when two energies come together that have the same understanding but have a different way of maybe interpreting it or working with it, or it creates a bigger field, which then now more people have the opportunity to tap into and go, okay, I understand it that way. And that resonates with me. And sometimes somebody will meet me, and the reason why they meet me is because I'm a step to you, and you're the one that's going to help them along the path. And then it's going to be the same the other way around, that it's like, okay, this helped me to hear, and now I need to broaden it from another aspect. And this is another thing that people like you and I, we're breaking through this like nonsense that it's competition. And it's, you know, this lack mentality that there's only so many. And I think the people that come together and allow people in their spaces and, you know, really discuss these concepts, it is going to create a ripple effect.
Yeah, and it's like a domino effect. And it only takes like a little seed of a ding, you know, to activate something bigger in someone's mind and in their energy field to go, oh, there's something more for me. You know, what else is available to me? You know, I've been feeling that lack of something, and I know there's more. What is it? And it just takes that little seed to start then going down the millions of rabbit holes that I know you know about, that I know about. That is, you know, spirituality and all the different things that help expand you and grow. All the personal development stuff.
It's all good fun.
Love it. All about it. So quickly, how would you best kind of give advice to someone starting their journey into, you know, developing their spiritual superpower? I love that word, spiritual superpower. What would you say if someone just comes to you and goes, oh, I know there's more for me. What are your next steps?
The stock answer is start a meditation practice, isn't it? But I know that's like super hard for people. So I would say more, just if you can for 2 minutes, like every single day, just 2 minutes, just create some space in your life where you're not looking at anything externally. Yeah, you're doing something for you, and you're asking out like a simple question, such as like, what is it that I really want? Or what does my soul want me to know today? I mean, that's a really good question. If the soul concept is too big at this point, it's just like, what does my inner self really want me to know? Or what does my heart really want me to know? And just sit. Or if you're like me, I do find it hard at the beginning, especially to just sit. Just grab a notebook and just start writing. What does my heart want me to know today? 2 minutes. And what that will do is it will start to, a few things, it will start to create those synapses that say that, okay, there's something else, another part of me that wants an answer. But also you'll just start to get these little nuggets of information that when you start to put them together, you'll be like, oh, okay, there's a theme going on here, that my heart wants me to rest more, or my heart wants me to explore this more, or, you know, I mentioned the guitar thing. And once you've done that, maybe for like 3 weeks, and you read back and you notice what it is, I implore you to take an action on something. And it can be the smallest, teeniest thing. It could even be, right, I'm going to go and get a massage or something, right, if there's something there. But take an action. Do something that is honouring those words that you have written. And then just notice how things start to change. That would be one way. If somebody can't even take those 2 minutes, only 2 minutes, those 2 minutes that will change your life. If you can't even take those 2 minutes, then, and you're more into the external guidance, yeah, the universe. How does the universe talk to me? How do my angels talk to me? How do my spirit guides talk to me? Yeah, that's this worked really well for me. It's just in the morning, just say, you know, thank you, universe, or thank you, higher self, or thank you, angels, for reminding me that you're here. Thank you for reminding me that you're here. And then walk about your day and just notice the sign or the synchronicity or the something that happens, that comes in the way, the feather that drops in your path. And you see your name on a license plate somewhere, like something will happen, and you you can look externally, because the universe will respond to you, because you create your own reality. So for 1 minute, for 30 seconds, just say that prayer, come into your heart. Thank you for reminding me that you're here. Thank you for supporting me through this day. And then be open to the magic that the universe will deliver to you.
Love that. So simple yet so powerful over, 2, 5, 7 days more if you get into the habit of it.
Yeah.
A lot can shift in such a short time frame, and it's so simple. Just being open to seeing what comes into your space.
Well, your intuition, yes, you can fine tune it, and yes, you can become, really good at it, and do the card readings and become a psychic and all of this stuff. Like, yes, that's possible, and that is a skill that you can develop. And I help people develop in those skills. But that isn't what intuition is about. It's not about being psychic. It's not about predicting the future. It's not about jumping into other people's energy. It's about how can it make you more of you. Because when you are you and you are so aligned with who you are, you will make such a big difference in the world with your unique vibration. And is that not why we're here?
Exactly put. Yes, I love that. And it is exactly why we are here. I always finish these interviews with one last left-handed question. Not really, because you're in the spiritual space, so you probably already know this answer. But what is Melissa's legacy? What is the message that you have for the world? What do you want to leave behind?
For me, when I asked this question in the records, I was given an image of a lighthouse with a light and a sea and a pebble. And I was like, what is that? I got the profound answer that I am the lighthouse and the sea and the pebble, and that my job is to help create ripples. And the way that I do that is to help people find their own light and become their own lighthouse and their own sea and their own pebble. Yeah. So for me, it's about inspiring people to go, you know what, I can live the life that's aligned to me, and I've got the courage and the bravery to go ahead and do that.
I love that. I love how you put things so simply, yet they're so profound. I love it. And you can be everything that you want. You don't need someone else to come in and tell you who you need to be and what you need to do. Just listen and follow that guidance. I love it. Thank you so much for being here with us, Melissa. You can go and enjoy your day. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful wisdom with us. And I will pop your links. If anyone wants to come and join your event next week, they can do so. But thank you. I love bringing women who are so open and just amazing, and you just want to empower as many people around the globe and help them open up to all of this wonderfulness that they can have in their own life. It's not about us, it's about shifting so many other people to have their own amazing lives. And I love that you're one of these women, and thank you so much for coming into my space and sharing this time with us tonight.
Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone for listening, and keep doing the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Thank you, dear souls, for joining me on this sacred journey. If you enjoyed this soul-nourishing experience, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you can stay connected and never miss a moment of our soulful exploration. Let's keep this transformative conversation going in the comments below. Share your insights, your dreams, and the magical moments you encounter. This is a community of like-minded souls, and your voice matters. If you're feeling called to dive even deeper into the realms of intuition and soulful living, remember that I'm here for you. Reach out to me through the links in the description. Let's embark on a personalized adventure to help you create the life of your dreams. This is Vanessa signing off from the Sacred Soul Shift series. Stay enchanted and keep shining bright.